Hi guys, I am here today to talk to you about masks, and I thought I'd just show you some of the masks that I've made. This is on my wall at home. These are some animal masks that I've made. Without taking them down off the wall, I can't really show you much in the way of scale, but you can see some of these are quite small. They're like mini masks. The frog, for instance, here was formed around a small ball. It's made really as an ornamental mask, so it's purely for decoration. It's not functional at all. You couldn't wear it on your face if you wanted to because it's so small. So it's a kind of stylized cartoon frog, and it's made out of clay, and it has underglaze on it to add color, and then on top of that there is a gloss coating. You can see the clay that I used had kind of a brown fleck to it, so that came up through the glaze and became part of the artwork. This is a possum mask, and it is, you can see it comes off the wall quite a lot. This was started with a similar technique. It was made around a circular ball, and I actually had to add a lot to create the additions of the nose. So the nose here, one thing to mention when you add something like a nose to your mask, the nose is all hollow on the inside. It is basically like a cone shape, and I had to cut away the back of the sort of ball, initial ball that I made, and add that kind of cone shape hollow to the front of it. Because, you know, when you're making something, when you're constructing something out of clay, you don't want to add big thick lumps. So nothing, the rule of thumb, haha, is actually no bigger than your thumb in terms of thickness. Everything here is hollow. Even like things like the eyes, where you're adding a little bit of thickness to the front, you have to go into the back and poke through, make sure that there's not too much thickness in there, kind of hollow things out from behind. Let's see what else I have here. So this is a mask I made. This one's really quite large. It's much bigger. Well, no, I'd say it's, you know, a little shorter than a human head maybe, but it is quite large compared to the other masks. It was made on top of a pack of Tide Pods. Tide Pods have these like oval shaped containers with a snap off lid. And so I used that as the base to shape this around. The character is May from Night in the Woods. It's one of my favorite games. I thought she was a very cool design. She was designed, I think the artist's name is Scott Benson, who designs Night in the Woods. And anyway, I really love his artwork, and I wanted to make something that kind of celebrated that character. So again, this is not a functional piece. It's purely decoration, and it, you know, celebrates, you know, kind of pop culture icon of May from Night in the Woods. Let's see what else we have here. This is another one that was formed around a small ball. It is a bat-like creature. I've heard some people say it kind of looks a little bit like a Frenchie too, or like a little bulldog. It's very small. You can see from the side, the nose comes up quite a lot off of the top. It's sealed up at the top, so the nose is hollow on the inside. I've had to be careful and, you know, come through everything that I added carefully, or else you're asking for an explosion in the kiln. Basically, you're asking for your clay. That sounds more dramatic than it actually is. It's more of like a violent crumbling in the kiln. If you trap air inside your sculpture, or if your clay is so thick that it can't dry properly all the way through, you are going to get crumbling in the kiln. Your sculpture will basically fall apart. So you've got to be really careful to make sure you don't have any areas where you've got air trapped, or areas that are super thick that are trapping some hidden moisture before you put it in the kiln. This one was colored with underglazes again, and it's got a really cool glaze on top that has like a kind of undertones of teal. Let's see. So I've got another one to show you guys. I'm gonna go. This is one that I actually made for the project, this project that we're doing. I think the year before last. We didn't get to do it last year because of COVID, but the year before last we did this. So this was made on top of a plastic mask that looks like a human face. I have some of these masks, the plastic masks in the room, and you can use those to kind of form your mask on top of. If I had really been showing some good professionalism, I would have taken time to clear out the back of my mask, but I didn't. In this case, I kind of rushed it and just dealt with the front of the mask. You can tell, because I didn't take care of the back, that my intention was not really for someone to wear this. I, again, wanted to make something to hang on the wall. So the design of this mask, it was really inspired by the color in Mexican folk art masks, and some of the patterning in African face masks. So the repeated patterning that you often see on the faces of the African face masks. It also has 3 eyes, so I wanted to make it sort of appear that this mask would be used for some kind of ritual, though I don't know what sort of ritual it would be used for. I took inspiration definitely from masks that had a more ritualistic or performative cultural purpose. So anyway, I hope that my mask gives you the impression that's used for that, even though, you know, the exact ritual is unknown. I think that's fine for this work of art because it is more of an aesthetic thing to hang on the wall. Incidentally, it's got a little piece of fishing wire or fishing line that goes through the eyes, and that's how I hang this on the wall. It kind of goes through the nose here, and I hang it on the wall like that. You can build in things like places to add hooks on the side. In my experience, if you have open eyes, this works out better because you don't see it, and it really holds your piece well to the wall. All right, let's look at a couple more masks. Right, so this is another sort of mask-like thing that I made. This is a cow head, and it is pretty large. This is just the nose here with my hand. I would say it's maybe, I don't know, 1.5 feet, close to 2 feet tall from top to bottom. It is just made of cardboard with newspaper layered on top of it, and then acrylic paint on top of that to add the elaborate patterns that you see. I also used some markers here. My inspiration for this was alebrijes from Oaxaca, Mexico. I love Mexican folk art. So they're very intricately patterned animal sculptures. Usually they're just covered by all kinds of patterns. Sorry if you see a little dust up there. So I chose my own patterns and created this cow that was basically crazy colors and patterns. If you've watched the movie Coco, there are alebrijes in the movie Coco. You might look them up too. This is a fun kind of technique. You have to be a little inventive with your painting here because you maybe can't get as much detail. Like, for instance, I didn't go inward on the nostril here. I just made the nostril look like it was going inward. The mouth doesn't really go inward. It looks that way because I constructed why I painted a line there. You have to be a little creative with your shading here because maybe sometimes the paper mache is a little more crude than clay in terms of being able to shape it. I don't think that's a hindrance. You just kind of have to be creative in other ways to get the shape that you want. I did use styrofoam balls and set those in for the eyes. Everything else I made armature. The armature is basically the skeleton of a sculpture. I made the armature out of cardboard and then built up the shape slowly with balled up newspaper and taped it on there. And then on top of that, again, I added paper mache, which is water and glue, let that dry, and then I added some paint on top of that to give the final colors and patterns. It was, you know, a time-consuming piece of labor. There's no requirement if you choose to do a paper mache piece like this at home. There's no requirement that, you know, you do a full animal head coming out of the wall like I did here, kind of almost like a trophy head. You can do just a simple mask. I've posted a video to help with that, using aluminum foil to shape around your face as the armature to build the paper mache on top of. After that, it's just cutting strips of newspaper and dipping them in glue and letting them dry. Then you can paint it or decorate it any way that you would like. All right, so I also wanted to show you guys this mask. This mask was made by my husband. He's an artist too. And so his mask is on top of a drawing. His drawing is behind it. So this mask is made out of paper, just regular notebook paper, that he put in a blender with a little bit of glue, and he made a paper pulp, and it was formed around like almost something like a styrofoam head. It was a nicer version of that, I guess, a model of a head. He pressed the paper pulp around that. You can see there's like a little bit of texture here. He used a very stiff brush and pressed the paper pulp around it. I asked him what this was because I thought it was leaves. He said actually that it is baked apple skins. So he took apple skins and baked those in the oven and then added them onto the surface once the surface was dry, with acrylic medium. You can see there's a little moth here. It's actually not physically attached. The moth came and landed on our in our garage windowsill, and it died. It kind of perfectly preserved like this, and he's wanted to add a little glue back here to make it a permanent part of the mask. So you can see there's like a little chopstick up here at the top, and inside, attached to the chopstick, there's a little scroll. And if you gently pull it out, it reveals a little painting. It's inside the mask. You see a monk sitting and meditating, and a snake coming up and surrounding him. Not sure if that's the end of it. There may be more, but it's not wanting to pull out, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So anyway, this mask quite literally has a story inside of it. So this is what you might consider a storytelling mask. He said he intended for it to be hung by the scroll so that it hung on the wall and then the mouse sat down at the bottom. So anyway, if you're at home, at school, we're going to be using clay. At home, I have posted already resources for you to use paper mache, the traditional paper mache with, paper strips and glue. You could also use paper strips and flour mixed with water. If you would like to try something different, and you want to put in the research and effort of, experimenting with that medium and finding out how exactly, you would go about using it, I am happy to support you to use a different material. If you would like to try something other than paper mache, this is again paper pulp. He took regular old paper from a notebook and put it in a blender with a little water and glue, and pressed it down onto a mold to make the shape of this face. So if you would like to research paper pulp or any other sort of medium, there's all kinds of different ways to make masks. if you, you know, are just, you're trying this out for your first time, you want to, you know, give something that I've already put resources up for a go, there are, of course, the resources for the traditional paper mache. So give that a try. All right. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.